Again, good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Reginald Moore, Director for Baltimore City Recreation and Parks. We're so excited to be here. This is a joyous day. Regardless of the rain, thank you all for showing up. But this is the day that we celebrate an amazing man, Congressman Elijah Cummings, with the groundbreaking of the Congressman Elijah Cummings Recreation Center. But it's always important because he was always focused, and it was extremely important to him about the youth of Baltimore. So I want to thank Principal Mark and the young men and women over at Curtis Bay Middle Elementary School for their opportunity to be here with us today. They have their band and their cheerleaders, so I'm going to turn it over to them to kick us off here. Thank you. Please, let's give him another hand. Great job. And this first individual, he doesn't need any introductions, but I will officially introduce the mayor of our city, Mayor Brandon Scott.
Thank you, Dr. Director, and to all our esteemed elected colleagues. He throws that doctor in every time, man. He got a doctorate degree and asked for a raise the next day, immediately. And thank you to our wonderful, wonderful students from Curtis Bay Elementary Middle. This is a huge day in Baltimore, and you can tell how big of a day it is about how many of our elected officials and forever elected officials who have joined us today. We are joined today by the man who is now, in my opinion, known as the people's voice in the United States Senate, our Senator Chris Van Hollen. Our forever Congressman Mfume in Baltimore. We have two of those. Congressman Sarbanes, sir, thank you for your service and welcome back. This gentleman who I kind of miss from his old job, but I love him very dearly. County, and look, see, it just comes out naturally. I'm joking. Congressman Johnny Olszewski Jr. Our Senate President Bill Ferguson. Council President Zeke Cohen. Councilwoman Felicia Porter. And we have now you have three Park Heights representatives here. This tells you how big of a deal this is. In addition to myself, you have Senator Delegate Malcolm Ruff and Delegate Sean Sinnett. Thank you all for being here with us. And then I saved this gentleman for last because he and I had something in common. We would often back-to-back get called over to Congressman Cummings' office after we both got into separate trouble. Council President Nick Mosby, sir, thank you for being here today. I also want to recognize not just Director Dr. Moore, but also the entire team at Recreation Parks who have been doing a great job of spending all that money we're giving them to build new facilities for our families and our children. Thank you to the whole Rec and Parks team, our Acting Chief Recovery Officer Elizabeth Tatum, and of course all the members of Curtis Bay, Brooklyn, everybody from South Baltimore. I see Cherry Hill is here, Mr. Middleton, Termite, everybody. And thank you all for your work to make this day possible. We are gathered here today on this ground to break ground on a rec center dedicated to the great Congressman Elijah Cummings. He was the best of us and a force in Baltimore and for Baltimore. But more than anything, he was a champion for the young people of our city. But he was so much more than that. a dedicated father and mentor to many, including me. And it is in times like these that I miss him even more. I wish I could call him on the phone one last time and ask him for advice. But if he were here, he will remind the entire world that we are better than this, especially this country. Better than so many of the so-called leaders who, unlike our delegation in Congress, are just standing by while the soul and the core of our democracy is being gutted minute by minute. He will remind us all that we have to fight, not just for us, but more importantly, for our children in the future. Our children, as he would say, who are our messages that we send into a world that we will never see. And being one of his political children, I just hope that I make him proud every day. We know that the congressman grew up under Jim Crow. We know he helped to integrate the Riverside Park pool. We know he spent his entire career working to undo the damage that segregation and intentional disinvestment caused communities in this country, but most importantly here in Baltimore. He wanted to make sure that young people today would have greater opportunities than he did. And I think he would be more than proud to have his name on a project like this one. A rec center that will serve not only Curtis Bay, but also Brooklyn and Brooklyn Homes, which is literally right through the woods. A space for everyone to gather, but most importantly, our most precious resource, our young people. And the fate would have it that we got here because of support from the federal government. $15 million investment into this project. $6 million of that came by way of ARPA funds. And most importantly, what I want everyone to know about this project, it's a project designed with and for the people it serves. It took some time to get it right. I'm grateful to everyone that shared their input, especially the young people. It was worth it. And when we're back in 2026, when this site opens, our residents here in Curtis Bay, in Brooklyn, will have be home to one of the best rec centers in town. It will have a gym, gathering rooms, an indoor-outdoor patio space to host community festivals and events, ton of green space outside, which is great for our young people and our planet. And perhaps most importantly, we're so close to schools. Curtis Bay Elementary Middle is right across the street. Fern Braybrook is right through the woods. Our young people no longer, as they had to in this neighborhood before, have to walk down into an industrial park to go to their rec center. We're building it right where it should be to allow them to travel here safely right after school or in the summertime as soon as they wake up. This is what Baltimore's Renaissance is all about. Building in every neighborhood for all people, especially neighborhoods like South Baltimore that had been ignored by the city government for far too long. I want to also thank, this is a historic partnership with Rec and Parks, because our contractors here, Banneker THG, they're black-owned companies. Something that the city, when you're talking about primes on a project like this, does not happen and has not happened a lot. We want to continue to do those kind of partnerships, especially in light of what is happening at the federal level. This was a group project, a project of love to honor and lift up someone that we all love and that we know loved each and every one of us. So thank you for being here. Thank you for continuing to support us in this vision that we have for Recreation and Parks. And I'll now turn the mic over to our Senator, Senator Chris Van Hollen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I don't know if the students from Curtis Bay Elementary Middle School are still here, but go Bulldogs. Thank you all for starting this off, and to Mayor Scott, it's a great honor to be with you here today for the groundbreaking of the Elijah Cummings Recreation Center. And I think I can speak for all of us when I say Elijah Cummings would be incredibly proud of you, Brandon Scott. You really do walk in his footsteps and his shoes. It's great to be here with all other members of Team Baltimore and Team Maryland. I do want to give a special shout out to our federal Team Maryland. Kwasi Mfume understands the heart and soul of the city and is walking in those footsteps of Elijah. Thank you so much for what you're doing at Kwasi. And Johnny Oshevsky, yes, we know he knows how to hit the ground running. He was a county executive and he's done that in Congress. We just had a meeting yesterday of the Maryland, delegation, federal delegation, to talk about how even in these very challenging times we can continue to deliver for Baltimore. So thank you for being part of our team, Johnny O. Let's give him a round of applause if we could. And to John Sarbanes, it's great to see you. As we were just saying, you got out of there just in time, but we know you're still working on issues important to our democracy. And I do want to say that when Congressman Mfume and Congressman Sarbanes and Senator Cardin and I voted for the American Rescue Plan, we had two ideas in mind. One was, of course, to address the immediate dangers of the pandemic and COVID-19. But the second goal was to lay the foundation for long-term renewal and recovery. And so I want to salute you again, Mayor Scott, and your team for putting those American Rescue Plan resources together for things like your Rec Rollout, including this recreation center here today. And I want to thank you for acknowledging the fact that those federal funds are being invested in this very purpose. And as you say, Elijah Cummings would be very pleased to see that. But I do remember a former governor who used to go around the state spending ARP funds without recognizing the source. So I'm grateful your sign has it right up here, and I'm grateful that you made this investment with those funds. And as you said, rec centers really can be the heart and soul of a community. They can be like a community town hall, especially for young people, but they become a gathering place for everybody. And that will be true for Curtis Bay and for the Brooklyn Homes area. And it is something that Elijah Cummings dedicated his life and efforts here in Baltimore to. Let me just close about something about Elijah, because it is very fitting that you're naming this rec center after Elijah, somebody who always talked about the next generation, what messages we are sending today to the future. And investing in young people is one of the messages that he always embraced. So while it is raining today, I do see this project as a ray of sunshine and hope during very stormy national times. And I see it as a Baltimore vote of confidence in the future, even in very uncertain national times where we literally have the President of the United States attacking the Constitution and other values that we hold dear. And back in 2019, and the mayor cited this, but I do want to cite it again. Elijah said, and I quote, "We are better than this. As a country, we are so much better than this." That was 2019. If he were here today, he would be screaming. He would be screaming that message. But I see today as a way that Baltimore can say right back, here in Baltimore, here in Maryland, we are better than that. And we are showing it right here. Thank you all who helped make this happen. And now let me bring up incredible partner in the United States Congress, and somebody who really does walk in those footsteps, served Baltimore. This is his second tour of duty in the United States Congress. I don't think he ever expected to have to deal with what we're dealing with now, but he is doing it with strength and fortitude. Kwasi Mpume.
My usual to all of you in the back, thank you for that standing ovation. I know it's a little chilly, but it's a great day. A great day. And I just want to thank, if I might, a couple of people, being deliberately redundant, and I'm going to pick up where Chris left off, because Chris Van Hollen, who is our senior member of the Maryland delegation, our senior senator, fought long and hard for these funds. We in the House at the time, where did John go? John, myself, Ben Cardin, we had goals, you're right. We wanted to make sure that we found a way to deal with the pandemic when we were all walking around in masks and washing down our groceries and believing that we might not make it. We wanted to make sure that Baltimore City got enough funds to do what Baltimore City wanted and needed to do. We wanted to do the same thing for the central Maryland area, and did that for Calvin Ball in Howard County and Johnny O in Baltimore County. Now, Howard County, we were able to get $84 million. I believe that was a total. $160 million for Baltimore County and $641 million for Baltimore City. And the mayor has been a great steward of those dollars, a great steward. And so we're all here in part because of that, but we're also here because of his leadership. Some of you may have heard me say that I have had an opportunity to be in this city and to live in this city under the leadership of 11 mayors. That's a lot of people. And they all didn't serve one term, so it was a lot of years too. But this mayor, our mayor, has put more money into youth programs and rec centers and has made a public commitment and never backed down from it, because he recognized what we do for young people today will define who we are into the future. Oh yeah. That's why I was so proud when I saw these kids. I used to be in a marching unit in Baltimore, much like them when I was a kid. Those things stay with you because they're learning discipline, they're learning teamwork, and they're believing in themselves every time they have an opportunity to skip before adults and to perform. So let me say a couple of things about Elijah. I would be absolutely remiss if I did not. And I want to thank also all the representatives here from the community organizations. There are quite a few. Ms. Thomas, Mr. Gaither, Dr. Moore, thank all of you for what you're doing here. Elijah and I met in 1976 or 77 out on a street corner as two young people trying to find a way to get involved politically. He was volunteering with one group, I was volunteering with another, and we in those days just felt included by being able to pass out literature and to talk to people and to talk about hope and to say to our communities, we are here to help you. Little did we know that we would become dear friends for the next 42, 43 years. And as friends, we've shared a lot of stories together. You're absolutely right, Chris. He would be so proud of Brandon if he were here today. And knowing Elijah, he'd be so proud he'd have a tear in his eye. That's his humanity. So doing this is great, and doing it is wise, but it's also necessary that we remember, and that we remember from where we come. We're dealing with a crazy administration who wants to erase all of that history. And our response back to him is, you erase it, we will replace it. It's just that simple. So let's keep in mind what Elijah fought for. He was a stalwart in the storm. He always stood steady and steadfast through it all. No matter how long the journey, cold the chill, fierce the enemy, or few the friends, he always found a way to capture our will to dare to be different and our will to dare to make a difference. And so I know he's here today. I'm waiting for him to tap me on the shoulder at any moment and say, sit down. Because he never wanted to make a fuss about him, but we are making a fuss because it's important. And it's really important that there's so many people to witness this occasion today. So my thanks also to all of you. I want to bring up my buddy. We ride and die together in the Congress now. He is the newest member of our delegation, but not new to the fight and to struggle to build up communities, to support people, and to make a way out of nowhere. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Johnny Olszewski.
Well, good morning, y'all. You look beautiful. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here. I too, Mayor, am adjusting to the change in roles, although with what's happening in this country, I haven't had much time to soak in that change, but it is so good to be here with you. I think this is my first official activity, event in this role. One of the benefits of being a member of Congress from the 2nd District is I get to serve with an amazing delegation. With our Senator Chris Van Hollen, with the heart and soul of Baltimore in the Congress, Kwesi Mfume, but I get to share that with him now. And my philosophy is if you get to represent part of Baltimore, you represent all of it. And so just know, Baltimore, that we stand with you, that I stand with you. I always have, but to now represent parts of it and to serve alongside a real champion for this city in you, Kwesi, it is an honor and a privilege. And it's a privilege to fight alongside Mayor Scott, our amazing local leaders and our state leaders. You all are holding the line. You are standing up against what's happening as we try to fight back in Congress, because what's happening right now is unconscionable. It's heartless. It's wrong. And we know that Elijah would be speaking out forcefully against it. It's said when we lose folks, often we say, may their memory be a blessing. And I know that for all of us, the memory of Elijah is truly a blessing. But Mayor, what you and the amazing team here at Rec and Parks is doing is ensuring that memory endures for generations. And the story of who Elijah Cummings was and what he stood for will carry forward in both tangible ways, playing basketball, learning teamwork skills, but also remembering what he was all about. And so may we all remember what he's about as we work together to push back against this time. And so I can just say I want to thank our federal delegation in particular for these ARPA funds. I know what a lifeline it was to Mayor Scott, to myself as county executive. We did get through the pandemic as a result. We are now building resiliency, particularly as this administration is pulling back other funding in so many critical spaces. One of the other smart things that you all did was make sure that money was deposited directly into our treasuries. So we can say, President Trump, try to come and get it. Good luck. But I commend the mayor, the department, the entire team. Doc, as Dr. Congressman Johnny O, I can appreciate making sure. Do I get a raise for that too, Mayor? I don't know. But just remembering the Bulldog pride. And that's why we do this work, and that's why we're going to keep fighting as Team Maryland with our amazing mayor, with our outstanding state and local leaders. And so God bless y'all. Let's keep fighting. And I think it's my privilege and honor now to represent one of those leaders who made sure this happened, someone who I know is missed dearly in this fight, in this moment in the United States Congress, but who is continuing to do incredible work. A real leader and champion and beacon on all things democracy, and someone I think of often as we do the work, former Congressman John Sarbanes, everybody.
Thanks very much, John. Now that I know that Kwesi was in a marching band when he was a kid, that explains a lot. Mr. Mayor, congratulations for your steadfast commitment to these kinds of projects, for using these funds well, for being a good steward. It means a lot to the city, it means a lot to the state, and in this moment it says something to the country. So thank you to you and your team. And to all my former colleagues, it's good to see you, and it's good to be back just for a brief moment. There's a there's a documentary about the sanitation workers strike down in Memphis called At the River I Stand. Every year I watch that movie just to kind of remind me of the power of it. And they interviewed somebody in there, one of the sanitation workers, and he said, wherever Dr. King was, that's where I wanted to be. And I felt that way about Elijah Cummings. Wherever Elijah was, that's where I wanted to be. In part because I knew that if we were there together, that I'd figured out the right place to be, that we shared some values. And it meant a lot to me that in Baltimore we would oftentimes show up at the same things, at the same celebrations. And so now it's like wherever his name is, that's where I want to be. And this is a great day, acknowledging his legacy, making sure that we never forget him, and that his name and that voice that you can hear in your mind right now is with us. And then let me make this last observation, because we've all talked about what young people meant to him and how he invested in young people. A lot of you know the story of when he was sworn in back in 1984, I think it was, and his father was up in the gallery, and he looked up at his father. His father was crying. And Elijah says, I never seen my daddy cry. Even when his mother died, I didn't see him cry. And afterwards he went up to his father and he said, were you crying? His father said, yes. He says, you probably think it's because you just became a congressman, don't you? Elijah says, yes. He says, well, that's not the reason. He said, I was crying because when I looked at you. Now remember that Elijah's father and mother were sharecroppers. They never got an education. His father said that when I looked at you and I thought about how your mom and I used to pick the strawberries in the fields and we didn't get a chance to get an education. He said, when I looked at you, I saw what I could have been. I saw what I could have been. And Elijah, when he would tell that story, he would make the observation, we cannot afford to live in a country where you can grow up and be 70 years old thinking about what you could have been. And this is why investing in the young people with this community center makes so much of a difference. Those young people aren't going to have to wonder later what they could have been, because they'll get the chance right from the start. That's who Elijah was, and that's why we're here to celebrate his memory. This is a great day. Congratulations, Mr. Mayor, and everybody else. And now, my pleasure to introduce Bill Ferguson, President of the Senate, State Senator, but for these purposes, just an amazing partner in bringing those funds and support to bear to help make projects like this a reality. Bill.
Well, thank you, Congressman. It's a pleasure to see you, and it's always such a pleasure to work with you. And Congressman Infume, I was thinking, I was having the same vision of Congressman Cummings having the tear in his eye. He wasn't afraid to be emotional. And so I think about this day to day. You'd think it'd be great if it were this sunshine and ray. I have a different view. I think it's probably that the Congressman is with us. He's just in heaven crying tears of joy, right? And that's what this rain is all about. It's because this is everything he would have imagined. This is exactly what he always fought for. And I think back, it's tough because you really only realize it when people are gone, really those moments that mattered. And I think back to about 10 years ago when I see a number of community members here when Maritime Academy was moving into Cherry Hill. And, I'd heard that Congressman Cummings was involved and was interested in Maritime Academy, but I had no idea the extent. And so as we're having these meetings, he asks us to come in and meet with him and sit around his table in his congressional office, and is asking questions about 11th grade attendance and what's happening with this particular partnership that he had pulled together. He pulled in the Coast Guard, he pulled in these international shipping lines so that young people could have access to apprenticeships and jobs. It was exactly who he was, because he knew that if we invest in young people, that's how we invest in the future. And I know that each one of the leaders that I'm here with today, as well as my team for the 46th District, who couldn't be here today, Luke Klippinger, Mark Edelson, and Robin Lewis, and I know my 2 other House members, we can speak in a unified voice. That's why it's so easy to allocate money in the General Assembly to projects like this. It's because of the model that Congressman Cummings provided for each and every one of us. And to our federal partners, I just want to say thank you to you all. Your leadership is remarkable in these astounding times, and it's just a pleasure and an honor truly to be here with you to celebrate this moment. Just one little small last vignette, and it has to do with the young people at Curtis Bay Elementary. I was here a couple months ago before session because we were celebrating a new Kaboom playground that was at Curtis Bay Elementary School. And I had the chance to walk around in the school before we did the ceremony. And about 15 years ago, when the council president was one of the teachers at Curtis Bay Elementary, it was a challenging place. It was Curtis Bay Elementary was tough. It was tough, and there was not a lot of order. There was a lot of attendance was in the 60%, 70% range. Well, a couple months ago when I visited with Principal Bongiovanni, I think Principal B, if you're still here, he's probably back in the school. What happened as we were touring the school before this playground is that each room we would walk into, and you would think it was manufactured, almost looked like a script. We would walk into the room and the kids would get up, and we're talking like 10, 11, 12-year-olds, and not just the little babies, but would get up and run to him and hug him and say, "We love you." Every room that we walked in. And there was just this permeating feeling of love in every space. And you see the results of what's happening at Curtis Bay, they're skyrocketing. They finally have the resources to be able to invest in things like the marching band. It's exactly how we should be focused in this city, and it's exactly what our mayor has been doing since he has been leading in Baltimore with our incredible council that has been along the way, knowing that if we invest in our young people, if we invest in kids, that is what our future will behold. The promise is unbelievable. And so I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you to community members who I see have just been incredible advocates as we've been able to move this project to this space in the center of the community. Thank you to Rec and Parks, to all of the incredible staff members that are going to make this possible. When do we do? When's construction?
Fall of 26.
Fall of 26. So in the early fall of 2026, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to be here to cut the ribbon with my friend and the next speaker for today, Council President Z. Cohen.
And let me be clear, Mr. President, that in my classroom there was 100% attendance. All right? No, but thank you. Let me just cross the board. Look, the leadership of the Senate President, our House delegation, you all are incredible partners to the city. Our federal team, thank you for literally fighting to save democracy. To my colleague, Councilman Porter, who is a consistent advocate for the environment, for health, for our young people, and to our mayor, who does not just talk the talk, but walks the walk and does the things that many elected officials before would talk about but not quite do, which is actually invest in this generation of young people. I appreciate you. And let me just say that in spite of the craziness coming out of DC, Baltimore is winning. And it is winning because of this unity right here. And it is winning because we had folks like Elijah Cummings to guide us in becoming who we are. And I gotta quickly share my Elijah Cummings story, because I'm willing to bet that every single person in this front row was mentored by him in some kind of way, that he put his arm on our shoulders and taught us how to be leaders. And so here's my Elijah anecdote, which is my connection to him was every year when he would do the Elijah Cummings Youth in Israel program, I was his warm-up act. I was a young city councilman at the time. I was Jewish, and you all know the program, but he brought kids from Park Heights, both Jewish and black, together. Nick Mosby served on the board. Thank you for your leadership. It was a really beautiful program. It continues on. They would bring these groups together and they take the kids to Israel to learn and to grow and to build relationships. And so I would introduce the congressman, and then he would speak, and I would just be in awe of him like everybody else. And I remember the last year I did it while he was alive. We were at Loyola. You were there too, Brandon? We were at Loyola, and at this time in his life, the congressman is, we all know this. I didn't know at the time just how sick he had been and for how long he had been sick. But at this point, he was clearly very, very, very ill. He was in a wheelchair. He needed some support to get up there. But it was also the height of, this was Trump 1, guys, and he was chairing that judicial committee. He was holding this administration accountable. He was probably the third or fourth most powerful person in the country, probably in the world at this time. But the thing that I remember is the place he wanted to be was Loyola with those black and Jewish kids, talking to them. And I did my introduction, and the kids are like fidgeting and moving around, and like, there's whatever, kids are being kids. And then he gets up there and you can hear a pin drop because he just had that powerful voice about him. And people are just enraptured. Every word they're hanging off of. And finally he gets to his crescendo, and he does the thing he did about, I only have a minute, and I don't want to butcher it, but you all remember it, and it was great. And he does that, and the kids go crazy, and their parents go crazy, and everybody's in tears, Bill and other folks. And then he does that thing he did where he said, no, wait, I'm not finished. I'm not done. Let me keep going. And he kept going. And he does another 5 minutes, and everybody is in tears, and they're crying, and they're going crazy again. And he stops, and he says, but I'm not finished. I'm not done here yet. And he keeps going. And the thing that sticks with me about it is this was the third most powerful person in the world. He could have been anywhere he wanted to be. And yet, where was he? In a rec center at Loyola with a bunch of children, talking to them about his life and him, and implanting into them. And that is why this is so fitting to name this rec center after him, is that in the height of his power, when he was the judicial chairman, when he was holding this administration accountable, the place he wanted to be with was with our kids. So thank you for doing this, Mr. Mayor and Kwaisi and everybody else. And it is now my great privilege and honor to introduce our councilwoman for this district, who has poured her heart and soul into supporting this community that I used to teach in, that has a lot of resonance, Councilmember Felicia Porter.
Thank you, Baba Mike. So advocacy matters, community matters, and our young people matter. That's why we're here today. And Congressman Elijah Cummings, he often talked about a North Star. And I remember the first time, I know everyone has their Congressman Elijah Cummings story. My Elijah Cummings story was when I was in high school, and I was in his office, and he talked to me about his everyday life as a congressman. Not the glitz and glamour of going to fundraisers. He talked about the real work that comes with serving people, with advocacy, with spirit and passion, as the council president just shared, with strategy, and making sure that you are always bringing back resources for your community, that you are always putting on for your community to make sure that every single day when you are in office, that their lives are better. This community center is a representation of so many in this community that have gone through countless hours of the community charrettes, countless hours of being on the phone with me, talking to Rex and Parks, Dr. Moore. He's laughing because we would always be on the phone. Countless phone calls with Mayor Scott, talking about this community and what it means to South Baltimore. But more importantly, it was an opportunity for me to not only represent what he shared with me in high school, but also to pay it forward. To pay it forward in his legacy, to pay it forward in his steadfast leadership, but also to make sure that our North Star in this community in South Baltimore, we have many people, many of the communities that I represent here today, they often, they're like, Councilwoman, you're always everywhere. Yes, I have to be everywhere. Because in order for us to have our North Star, to make sure that the city of Baltimore knows that we exist, the federal government know that we exist, the nation to know that we exist, we have got to make sure that our North Star is always clear and concise. Our young people are our next generation, our communities matter, and when you show up for public service, you are not showing up just for one day or 1 year. In the spirit of his legacy, Congressman Elijah Cummings, we are showing up for a lifetime, and that's what this community center represents today. Thank you so much to Mayor Scott for being a mentor to me, showing me what public service looks like in real action. The federal delegation, thank you so much for investing in South Baltimore. We've often talked about how South Baltimore hasn't been invested in for some time. I'm reshaping that narrative. I'm changing that dynamic. South Baltimore has always been. We now are leading with community in action and in voice, so that when we go to the next generation of young people that come forth, those babies that we just saw, we can say that we have done every single thing possible in order for us to make their lives better moving forward. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Councilwoman Porter. And now, my colleague, my partner, the one who helped shepherd the ARPA dollars, Elizabeth Tatum, if you will please come say a few words. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It is my great honor to have the privilege of speaking with you today for a few moments. Over the last nearly 4 years, the Mayor's Office of Recovery Programs has had the privilege of overseeing and stewarding the $641,170,126 awarded to Baltimore City, and we have two important federal deadlines. We met the first one on December 31st, 2024. We obligated every last dime. And yes, thank God that all of that cash was deposited in 2 tranches into Baltimore City accounts. Our office manages grants for over 129 projects that support everything from violence prevention to affordable housing to youth works. Thanks to Mayor Scott's vision for these once-in-a-generation funds, one of the largest ARPA investments is in recreation and parks. $58.4 million for the Department of Recreation and Parks, and then another $9 million for other public spaces and parks like the Nathaniel J. McFadden Learn and Play Park. So that's a total investment of $67.4 million. I have a whole list of all the different projects that ARPA has funded with Rec and Parks, but I imagine Director Moore is going to cover that, so I won't go through those numbers, much as I love numbers. So I'll just say that ARPA is investing $6 million, and then the other $10 million is coming from the general fund, which is another signal of this administration's strong commitment to equity and to neighborhood revitalization. This investment brings long overdue resources to Curtis Bay and to Brooklyn. These communities have borne environmental burdens and other burdens and have not seen this level of infrastructure investment in decades. This progress, as a public servant who is in the trenches every day, I know that this project represents collaboration between a number of different city agencies, Rec and Parks, the Office of Infrastructure Development, Transportation, Housing and Community Development, and numerous community stakeholders. From design and permitting to right-of-way negotiations and other administrative items that make most normal and sane people want to go to sleep, this has been an interagency and community-driven effort. So I want to thank Director Moore and the whole team at Recreation and Parks for all that they have done to bring this to fruition. I also want to thank Shamaya Kearney, who is not here today, but she's our inaugural Chief Recovery Officer, and her leadership has really shaped the office and set the standard for us since day one, and I owe a tremendous amount to her, and I've learned so much from her. I also want to thank Josh Wilson, our project manager, who has worked hand in hand with Rec and Parks and with infrastructure development and others to make sure that the planning and the funding and the contracting work is all done to bring this and other projects to life. And then lastly, I'll take just a brief point of privilege. I know others have commented on this, but I think it's worth underscoring. We can quadruple underscore it as many times as we want. There are folks in our nation's capital right now who want to gut the federal government and the many resources that it provides. They're doing this in part to transfer more and more and more wealth to themselves. If you were to ask them how much is enough, their answer is always more. They want a huge feast for themselves, they want a multiple day festival, and then they want to leave our friends and neighbors with some sad stale crumbs or nothing at all. That's a sickness. That's a disease. They gotta get rid of that somehow. Projects like this one, like the Elijah Cummings Recreation Center, are a sign of community health. They're a sign that there's enough for everybody and then some. So thank you to our mayor for his vision and hard work and insistence on abundance for our city, especially our young people. And thank you to our federal delegation and state partners for your support and for continuing to fight for resources for our city. Thank you.
All right, I promise you, I won't be long. I want to just start again by saying thank you to everyone for showing up. This is an amazing day. When I assumed this role a little over 7.5 years ago, and when Mayor Scott came in 2020, even before he became mayor, we always talked about how we can change communities with the proper investment in recreation. And I want to say that Mayor Scott got it. When we start talking about investments, while Elizabeth highlighted $67 million plus in federal funding, and thank you to the federal delegation for that, but we're talking about over $200 million that's been invested in this department for improvements, and that includes Senate President Ferguson's support with state funding, our current council president and former council president, and all of the council members with their support in supporting the mayor's proposal for CIP funding. So it has truly been a effort of everyone, and our agency is extremely thankful to each and every one of you, because we're changing lives in communities, not just with rec centers. We're talking about playgrounds. Delegate, your playground is under progress, right? And for me, it's about that. Spaces where our kids can come together. And I want to acknowledge Councilwoman Porter, because through the many charrettes, through the many communications with this community, and I want to thank you for standing and being with us and us working through this with the community so that we could get to this day. So on behalf of our agency, I want to personally thank you. I want to acknowledge my team. I mean, none of this is possible without having a team that you can say we have over $200 million, guys, and we gotta go to work, and we gotta build rec centers, and we gotta build playgrounds, and we gotta open up swimming pools and all the things. So Adam Borman, who's head of our Chief of Capital, he's not here today, but thank you to Adam. But I also want to thank our architect team, Lance Decker and Shavaria, who have been leading this charge to make sure that we get a world-class rec center. What is so unique about all of our rec centers that we're building is that each one of our rec centers that we're building has its own uniqueness. If you look at a Gardenville Recreation Center that's under construction now, one of the big components there is the community wanted a skate component to it. So not only does it have two multiple gyms, but also they have a skating rink so they can have skating on Fridays. When you look at an Elijah Cummings Recreation Center, it's a space where you will have the standards, so your multi-purpose rooms, your fitness centers, your gymnasiums, and it will have two regulated gymnasiums. But it also has something unique where we have space that can be easily converted to festival space, a multi-purpose room that has a patio that's connected that you can raise the garage doors, and now your truly connecting outside and inside. What a uniqueness to this rec center. This is the first of its kind, the first in our inventory. So we're so excited for that. And so as I close, I had an opportunity of meeting Congressman Elijah Cummings at a Ravens game. And he walked up to me. He says, "Hey, I hear you, the new director for Rec and Parks, and you're from Georgia, huh?" And he says, "All I ask is that you make changes and you do what's best for our young people in Baltimore." And so I think Congressman Cummings is the reason that we was able to stop the rain, right, so that we could have this celebration for him. So on behalf of our entire agency, thank you all for being here. And to bless us before we do our shovel, if I can bring Dr. Walter Thomas to the podium to just give us a blessing on this project and many other things that we're doing. And then after that, all the speakers in the front row, if you can join us. Oh, we're gonna, okay. So after the pastor, we will open up for questions if the media have any. The mayor will join me back at that point in time. And then after the questions, we will join so that we can toss this in, so we can officially turn this over to Banneker THG. Banneker THG, you heard the call. The Senate President said, I said fall 26. He says early fall. So I'm saying let's shift a little bit. Let's go midsummer, all right? So let's make this happen. Pastor Thomas.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to share in this moment to all the elected officials who are here. Congressman Cummings was a faithful member of the New Psalmist Baptist Church. Sunday after Sunday, whether it was election season or not, we would see him and his family joining us in worship. And how right it is that we can dedicate this moment in prayer. If you could, just connect with somebody right where you are, however you feel most comfortable. Father, now God, we thank you on this day that you've given us, a day that we have pressed our way with determination to celebrate this moment, to celebrate one who was determined to see somebody's life become better through his work and his service. Today in this moment, God, we thank you for Elijah Cummings. We thank you for his life. We thank you for his leadership. We thank you for his legacy. We thank you for a life that was about the business of helping others, leadership that was about the business of bringing others along the journey, and a legacy that brings all of us here today. And so as we share in this place, God, our prayer is simple, that you might bless this moment and bless this space. Let this be not just a rec center, but let it be a place where dreams come alive, where purpose is revealed, where hope is renewed, and where the next generation rises up to help this world see that the better that Congressman Cummings spoke about has become a reality in the next generation. And so we thank you now for what you are doing, and we give you praise in advance for what you shall do. This is our prayer. Together we all say, amen. Amen.
All right, before we throw dirt, any questions from our friends in the media? Anybody? All right, let's go.
1, 2, 3. There we go. All right.